My bad. What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to Craven Cowboys. It's your girl Mickey. I hope you guys are ready to talk some football. Hope by now you guys are off work. Hope you guys are relaxing and got some food in your belly and hopefully a drink in your hand. I hope you guys just, like I said, ready to talk some football. How's everybody doing? What's up? What's up, everybody? Of course, first in the chat, you already know Dak owns filthy. Of course he does. Not this past weekend, unfortunately, but just in general. I think so. I think now the record is 8-4. It's all good. It's all good. I think that's still over 500. So it's all good. Like I said, welcome back on Filthy in the building. Spin the Poppy, aka Joey Bella in the building. What's going on, fam? Good to see you. Good to see you, Eastside Harold. Hey, I'm glad you was waiting on me. I'm saying, just like you waiting on every other Cowboys content creator to come online so you can jump in their chat, and talk some stuff. And I ain't even gonna talk too much mess to you. You know what I'm saying? Congrats to your Texans. I didn't watch you guys this game, but I heard you guys play well. CJ Stroud doing this thing. Congrats to them. They got the win. You know what I'm saying? I'm so used to saying y'all got the L. My bad. Sorry about that. But I got the dub. Congratulations. Salute to y'all. I'm not sure what you guys' record is, but hey, when you get the win, you get that respect. Congratulations. Congratulations. Double R in the building. What's up, fam? Of course, I missed you. What's up, fam? Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you guys decided to join tonight. I just wanted to come through, just give my quick thoughts on the game. Like Eastside said, he's waiting on me. I was kind of waiting to give my thoughts as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, just kind of like the general thing going around. Like everyone's been kind of saying that they're not too sour on this loss we just had, which I'm not too, to be honest, I'm not really too sour either. Of course, it was a loss on our record, so we do, end up dropping down to 5-3. But it doesn't take us out the race. We're not out of it. Nowhere near out of it. Of course, as you see, the way NFC is looking, and really the AFC as well. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like I think it's the AFC North. I think it is with the Steelers, Ravens, Browns, and who else is in there? Oh, Steelers, Ravens, Browns, and whoever else is in there. I'm sorry, I can't remember. That's not my division. But I think at least three of the teams in there have a 4-3 record. So they're Double R says I'm never leaving. Hey, I appreciate that, man. Appreciate you. But yeah, I mean, they're really gonna be fighting. They're gonna be fighting for playoff spots. So just like we're gonna be, fighting over here too. So they're just really looking like the playoff lanes are really looking like they're opened up on both sides. For both conferences. So it's only well, week 9 just passed. So as of tomorrow, Wednesday is week 10. So a lot of football left. So definitely no crowning anybody just yet. I appreciate you, Joey. Appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, Double R, like he's always here. Yeah, so like I said, appreciate everybody being in the building. Like I said, just wanted to come through, give my thoughts. Like, definitely, he did just in some moments of the game. I wish we could, came up, instead of coming up short, I wish we'd have kind of came through with some of the plays that we, that Mike McCarthy drew up. Definitely good to see him kind of get more into his bag, if you will, with the play calling. Definitely good to see him involve more of the players like Tolbert, Turpin getting a touchdown. Although he was hurt, but good to see him come back in and able to contribute. We saw how Dak was playing, very well. Definitely kept us in the game, for the entirety of the game, even coming out in the second half when we end up dropping back 2 possessions. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous. We've been in those situations before where, we're not sure we can even come out of a, let alone a 1 possession game or, dropping back. I think it was 10 points or 11 points. I think it was when we ended up getting behind when the Eagles scored twice coming out of the half. So, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous at that point, but just being able to see the defense hold them eventually to some 3 and outs and giving the offense a chance, to ultimately go back out there and score a touchdown and, not unfortunately finish the game out with a win, but just getting us in the position, giving us a chance, even with less than a minute left on the clock, you can't be mad at that. So, like I said, I just want to come through my quick thoughts, just have a quick show for you guys. Let me know if you guys can see the flash show. I believe it's up on the screen. So, as you guys can see, I have the title here: Cowboys even the playing field. The tough loss shed some positive light. Like I said, we see just a little bit more of our playmakers. Some guys getting involved in the offense. We see our defense step up in a tough situation. We see our QB1 step up in a tough situation. Elevating our team, elevating who we think are playmakers. Jake Ferguson, once again putting up career numbers, almost 100-yard game. CeeDee Lamb, almost a 200-yard game, and really 150 yards, 150 plus yard game. I think 3 games in a row, so far. I think they're saying, I think I just seen a tweet earlier saying that he tied Michael Irvin's record, and 88 club, so it's great to see him just, he asked for the ball and he's definitely doing what he, not gonna say what he promised, but what he's saying he wants to do, and he's continuing to do it. If you're showing consistency doing your job, nothing wrong with that. You really can't be mad at that at all. All right, Double R says it looks good. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and really jump right in. Forgive me, guys, if my phone goes off at any time. Um, like now, sorry about that. But yeah, this is really just touching on the show I did. I think Saturday evening. I think it was Saturday I did it. And I just kind of had like some second year players we were talking about who could have an impact on this game. And of course, we've seen the guys who stood out, like I mentioned just now, Turpin, Ferguson, and Tolbert. Like I mentioned in the show before, like these second year players, once again, having big games and contributing to the offense, and just sort of expanding the offense as well. As we saw early on in the game, Turpin got us, our first score. Even after getting injured, I think they said it was his rib. I was confused. It looked like in the game he had grabbed his shoulder, but they ended up saying that he was, it was kind of a rib, it was a rib injury. But for him to come back, I think they said it was about 5 to 7 minutes later. Being on the sideline, and I think 2 minutes of commercial time. Just that, being out for less than 10 minutes, and coming back in, you're not even sure if what's wrong with you was severe or not. That not knowing the severity of if you can even come back in, and we know he was dealing with other injuries earlier in the year. I think he was dealing with an ankle. I think from the 49er game, I'm sure he was still I'm sure the season is a long season, so I'm sure they tend to these injuries. Week in and week out. Whether that whether I'm sure they're not 100%, but whether they're healthy or not, they're still dealing with these injuries. So it's just good to see that him come back. That's why Turpin is really one of my favorite players because he just plays with a sort of toughness, even before before the nick being nicked up or having injuries. We just see that he plays with just some kind of heart out there. You know what I mean? Like he just when you see him lunge forward with the touchdown, I think in the Giants game, and even having two returns last week. Granted one being called back, and even in this past game against the Eagles having a decent return, I think, to about midfield. The way he's able to contribute, all the way around, just shows his consistency. Same thing with Ferguson. Like I said, career numbers, almost 100-yard game. Pretty much becoming Dak's like second receiver. Not necessarily wide receiver, but his second target on the field. And being consistent and really being consistently open, what I'm saying? And just that rapport they're building. And even on the field, and I think early on in the game, when Dak was going out for a scramble, when ended up knowing, and Jake was like right there to him. He wasn't, he was open, but I think he was like just like 2 yards down. So instead of, they kind of took a little bit to get together, but instantly, Jake's like, hey, like, follow me, I got you. And he goes out to block for him. And, Dak signals to him, take on, I think it was Reddick who was right there. And, they just did, they're already on the same page. Like, they got each other's backs, they see, and you see that with amongst his other guys too, that, that Dak, is building this trust with. So it's good to see him, what I'm saying, and good to see, these players have an impact on the field. And Tolbert as well. He had, his first touchdown of his career, which is great to see. And I'm sure the team around him was just, celebrating. And we saw, how excited he was and even getting that target late, on that scramble, I think in the fourth quarter I think it was the fourth down play. Granted, in my opinion, I think we should have been going to Tolbert in that particular situation, but just showing that he's involved in the offense, kind of staying by Dak's hip, and just showing that they're building that trust within each other. All right, like as I mentioned with the show, as you see with the show title, closing the gap. I kind of got this clip from Isaiah Stanback from the radio show Talking Cowboys because they kind of mentioned that. Let me see. I want to bring it up real quick, right quick for you guys. Of course, we took the L. Of course, it's never good to take a loss, but just kind of like not necessarily about more victories, but this is just kind of what he explains about what he thinks about the game and how these guys can possibly come back. Just give me a second to share the screen with you all.
This team is moving in the right direction, or is that something that could maybe come up in the future?
I think that is realistic. Everybody, I mean, there's no moral victories, but there is facts. And the facts are earlier in the season when you got your butt kicked by San Francisco, the gap between you and the teams that are on that level of competition was vast. It was a freaking, it was an ocean, right? Yeah. In between, in between you and them. And now all of a sudden you play the Eagles, and now you recognize that it's not that large of a gap anymore. And you hear people say, well, I could play with these guys. That's not what you want to say. You know that you could play with these guys, but you didn't recognize that, hey, we're just that close to winning the game. And now you know. And now you know exactly what issues they present to you. Now you know, instead of just going off of, the analytics, instead of just going off of, the rosters, now you know for sure where your problem spots are, and you can address those via film. And now that you can address those via film, you go out there, you can correct these issues over the next few weeks, right? And you have some tough opponents following that, and then you get to face the Eagles again. And then guess what? You get a chance for redemption. So I think it is awesome. And from that regard, like I said, like we said yesterday, the only thing that sucks is you're 2.5 games back. So now you got to try to play catch up. And you're kind of hoping that they stumble along the way in the middle of their season.
As you guys heard, Isaiah mentioned in that clip right there that of course the bad. Of course, let's just start with the negative. Of course, that makes us 2 games back. Because that's kind of the negative of this game. We had a chance to be able to kind of kind of right our path a little bit. Just a chance to be able to, kind of catch up to the Eagles. We know their record was 7-1 coming in, and I think ours was 5-2 coming in. So we did have a chance to take first place. While the Eagles were on the bye, be able to beat the Giants. You know what I mean? So he kind of has a point. It does suck to beat now. Be 2 games back. You know what I mean? Let me see if I can bring this back up. Oh, what's up, JBB boy? I see you just creeped in here. What's up? What's up? How you doing, fam? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm just giving my quick thoughts on the game and just some quick some positives, some negatives that I took from the game and just really kind of later on in the show if you guys stick around, really just some questions that really just that I took from this game as well. Let's see if I can bring my show back up. Give me 1 second, you guys. Something happened with my show. I'm trying to see. So in the meantime, guys, do me a favor. If you give me just some things you guys saw from the game that you recognize that you may want to talk about. I'll bring my show back up really quick. All right, here we go. All right, perfect. Sorry about that, you guys. But yeah, like I was mentioning, like Isaiah mentioned, like we closed the gap between us and the Eagles. Like this kind of game was kind of a barometer for us. You know what I mean? Like how we can, like he said, we can kind of test, what we have against what they have. And he kind of mentioned roster, and that kind of stood out to me because we know, they mentioned before the game that it had really been since 2021 when since Jalen Hurts and Dak actually went up against each other. And we've been talking about that for a long time. Cowboys fans, Eagles fans, us wanting to see our full healthy rosters, and that was kind of my concern, kind of coming into the season. If us playing the Eagles for the first time in Week 9, it kind of being kind of later on in the season. Kind of wondering if we're going to have, and of course, granted we have had injuries. Eagles have had injuries as well. I think they lost Quez Watkins earlier in the season. I think he tore his pec. So they and we see Jalen Hurts, and we saw Sunday evening. He was kind of hobbled. They kind of went out the game. They kind of came out the game a little bit banged up as well. But so it was for me. It was kind of just it's just a way for us to be able to measure what we have currently. Even with the injuries that we do have. Just with the personnel that we have going forward. That we've been staying relatively healthy. And that's a good thing. And we came out this game. As far as I know, relatively healthy. So hopefully going forward, and these next few games, and going up to our next, the next time we do play them, and hopefully both sides can still remain healthy, so we can actually, have another game like we had Sunday evening. That was a good game. Both sides definitely played well. We definitely brought our A game this time. Of course, everyone's saying that we wish we could have played that way against the Niners, and it's always we could have, would have, but we definitely have to move forward. And play the next person on our game on our schedule. But yeah, and definitely don't want to get too much into it. But yeah, definitely the refs definitely sucked, baby. That was definitely, and just for it to be at times just so blatant, what I'm saying, and picking up flags and and not getting, sometimes you get a call but you don't get a replay. So, and I noticed that too, even when I went to the 49er game, like, I think it was the Tony Pollard fumble where they said it was fumble, but they didn't actually show, because people on my side, we were on the opposite side, so we were thinking the ball right out of bounds. So we were thinking that we would still end up, with possession, but they're saying that Warner recovered it, and we were just, me personally, I was just kind of upset because we never really saw a replay, so it was kind of hard to kind of judge. You don't really want to trust what the refs are say. You want to see the replay for yourself. So even when you don't get to see it on TV, it's kind of just like you don't always want to believe what the refs are saying. And just like you said, JD, I'm like, you don't want to comment on too much, but it's just like, you don't want to feel like you said, anything I say will be biased, but no, not necessarily. Like if you're going off what you see, and some of the things we saw, like I said, it's some things are just fact. Everyone saw them pick up the flag, but we saw the tug have Michael Gallup's face mask for hands to the face, but they decided to pick the flag up. So it's just, not necessarily that you're being biased. Some things we did see, but some things they just decided to not call. But, granted, at the end of the game, we did get some calls to go our way. So it's, we definitely can't hang that kind of game, especially with the chances that we had at the end. Because we definitely don't see that every time when we have refs on our side. So we definitely have to take advantage of those chances. And we, ended up, sinking ourselves at the end of it, with the penalties and the false start. And I think there was a hold. I'm not sure. I think it was I'm not sure it was on that particular drive, but we had a hold with Schoonmaker. So just certain things we have to fix ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So we can't blame everything on them. But just for this next slide, just keeping on with the theme of closing the gap. Of course, like I said, of course, talking about Dak, playing one of his best, if not, one of the best games of his career. Like I said, just continuing to build this trust with his guys. Like I was listening to Schottenheimer's press conference. If you guys been following me, I love listening to his conferences. And one of one of the questions asked was, how he views Dak and his effect on the team. Especially in games like this, big games. How he's able to talk to them and maintain his composure and how he's able to keep the team going, but at the same time, of course, being the leader of the team. And Schottenheimer just mentions that Dak is a leader. He maintains his composure on the sideline. He has like an inner calm about him, where he's not only able to talk with Schottenheimer, of course, with Trey Lance, while they go over things on a tablet. But at the same time, he's talking with, of course, with his receivers, his guys, also with the offensive line, and then at the same time finding time to go talk to the defense, hyping them up, letting them know that he's there for them, and whatever, he's gonna do whatever he has to do, do his part of the game. So him taking that on his shoulders, not only, not while he's on, he's off the field, he's on the sideline trying to, keep going with the flow of the game, and they have to go back in the game, to, take control of the offense while he's out there. So just him being able to handle all this, what I'm saying, which any quarterback has to do. Not saying Dak is alone in doing that, but just hearing the way Schottenheimer, just commends him and just the way he talks about his demeanor, on the sideline. I'm sure, the guys look to him. You can see when they go in the huddle, you can see on the field that they trust him, they look to him for, they hang on to every word because they know that, that McCarthy has given, Dak that trust in his offense. Yeah, JB, like, that Gilmore PI was literally, that flag was literally going out the stadium. Like the flag dropped behind the referee, and like he had to turn his back. If you got to turn your back, which is out of bounds, what I'm saying, you got to turn your back to look to see where the ball lands. Like the ball literally lands out of bounds. So that had to be one of the craziest PIs I've ever seen. And if they can't recognize that, then that's definitely crazy. Yeah, holding Michael Parsons. Yeah, it's crazy. We saw Michael's frustration on the field, and sometimes you got to kind of, and it's crazy. Like, these players, have to be careful about showing their frustration because they're worried about drawing a flag. But at the same time, it's like he's getting frustrated because they should be drawing a flag with on the other team. So we know that Philly is going to get those benefits, being in their house, and things like that. But yeah, Dak was excellent. Yeah, and we all know that he's great against the Eagles, but just the way he played that game in general, like he definitely played his ass off. He definitely played really well. And just that's another thing Schottenheimer mentioned again. He brought up this thing I caught from his last press conference when he talked about a me you factor, and not only now with CD, but he's also building it with Ferg, where Dak throws it to a certain spot with CD, and that, of course, now with Ferg we see, and we even saw with Ferg with that touchdown. I think it was last week with the Rams against the Rams, where he caught, kind of tipped it and brought it into himself. Like he's pretty much, literally, putting the ball in these guys' hands where he's trusting them to make the play. Where Dak, throws it to a spot where only they can catch it, and then it's up to them to get the yak yards, the yards after catch. So he's, it's kind of just like a two-part system. Like Dak, gets them the ball, and then like Schottenheimer mentioned in his press conference, if you guys go back and listen, he mentions it again that they're improving on the me to you factor, where they're able to just kind of build a rapport with each other and just kind of build a rhythm that they can take from game to game, and it's to ensure that these guys stay on the same page with each other. And like I mentioned, like CD just just becoming just growing more into who he is. Becoming he's already that number one receiver, but just showing more strides. Showing more improvement, showing that he's putting in the work. They say he's staying later in the practice. They're spending more time with Dak. Like just that extra work is finally coming into fruition. And as far as the defense, that they were able to hold, in critical situations, like I mentioned with the deficit coming out of the second half. Like I said, I was nervous, with that situation, them possibly not being able to come back, to climb, when we go into these games, possession back already, so two possessions back, especially in the second half, they're getting the ball first, you know what I mean, and they're having these long drawn out drives, these long calculated drives, if you will. When we know they're converting the third and short, the fourth and short. With the tush push or whatever. Brotherly shove they want to do, and we know that's not. We know that's gonna work no matter what. So it was a hard, it was a hard task for these guys to get them in third and long situations. We were able to do it, but we did have problems every now and then them converting those third downs. Let me see. Eastside says Nikki do believe in moral victories. I'm not gonna say I believe in them, but I do believe that you can, even from a loss, that you can take lessons from anything you do. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe that there are lessons to be learned in really not just talking about football, but just like in everyday life. Whether you succeed or whether you fail, there's always lessons you can take. From what you do. So no, I'm not gonna say I don't believe in. I do believe in, but I do believe in learning from experience. And like I said, with the defense, another thing they were doing, holding AJ, that was a big thing coming in. AJ Brown, 125, 125 plus yards, I think for 9 games straight, not just this year, but going back to last year. So, us being able to, number one, stop that record, and us also being able to maintain our record and, not allowing a wide receiver or a running back, to go over 100 yards. Hey, what's going on, Sports Junkie? How you doing, fam? Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. JB says, we didn't have to experience that tush push horrible spot by those leg refs. Yeah, to be honest with you, really, I didn't think they would put it there. But, I mean, on the first one, like, granted, yeah, Jalen did. I think that was like fourth and inches, so I was surprised that he got that. But, yeah, some of the other ones were questionable. But, I mean, when it's fourth and one or even third and one, like, we already know. I mean, like the announcer said, we pretty much know what they're going to do when they line up. So, like Michael said, coming into the game, and just kind of for me, even coming in, like we have to get them in those even second and long, and third and long situations, and not and really just stay on our toes, not allowing them to convert those, because we know those third and short and fourth and really fourth and short situations are pretty much 100 for them. I think that in the box score, I think they were 2 for 2 on fourth and short. So we know they're gonna convert those every time with their play. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that we lost, but I still feel good about the Steelers project. Yeah, and that was really a theme I noticed in a lot of the radio shows, a lot of the press conferences. That was kind of the atmosphere of the locker room. Like that, a lot of guys. I think I heard John Machota say it. Same thing on Girls Talk, Boy Talk. They were saying the same thing in the locker room, that the guys, even right after the game, the guys felt good. They just had. I think the word I heard the most was confidence. Like I said, like I was saying earlier to Eastside, like it's about learning from the game. Like even though you lost, yeah, but we saw what the team put out. We saw what Dak put out. We saw what the defense was able to do. Keeping them in third and short situations, keeping them, Ryan Anger, of course, punting them deep. I think we punted them at least one time deep in their own territory, and then I think they ended up deep in their own territory because we went for it on fourth down, but we didn't. I don't think we got it. So it's good to see that they were able to keep them, get them off the field, and give our offense, several chances. If we're being honest, to get back on the field. Another thing, for this slide in particular, the progression is definitely key for our team. And like I said, I think this is another stepping stone in our season. We're definitely getting, we're definitely in November football, definitely seeing what this team is becoming, and we're seeing a little bit more consistency, not as far as like on individual, as far as I guess I'll say individual rooms. I would say like of course like the O line, we definitely want to see more consistency there. We want to see more consistency with with the running backs, with the running game, really in general. But we see individual players, playing consistent, like I mentioned with Tolbert, Turpin, Ferguson earlier. Dak, is playing in stride. He's definitely in a rhythm. McCarthy's a little bit trying to get into a rhythm with his play calling. We definitely seen a lot more this game, as we hopefully, expected, from what we saw with the Rams game, what I'm saying, and the Chargers game before that. So we're just kind of, hopefully seeing what this team is becoming. And, hopefully, with some of the interviews last week, them mentioning what they believe their identity was, physical, being fast, having up tempo, and just having this identity coming into these games, keeping the defense on their heels, like we saw them against the Eagles, trying to keep their personnel on the field, trying to keep the third down personnel out there, so that they couldn't sub, what I'm saying? So trying to just keep these guys constantly, on their heels, and frankly keeping them, trying to catch their breath, what I'm saying? We even experienced we experienced that even with Kellen here, we did see some up tempo at times, but it's good to see that was one of the things we took from his offense, because that definitely helps us, develop a rhythm. Not only when we first come out, but during the game when we need to get back into a rhythm. A 2 minute offense, a 4 minute offense, as McCarthy mentions sometimes in his press conference, to kind of just kind of snap these guys back, kind of snap them back into focus. Let me see. Um, Sports Junkie says, "How do you feel about the Martavis pickup?" Yeah, I actually just saw that before hopping on here. I'm not gonna say I'm not. I'm not gonna say I'm fully, aware of what he's done, like 100% of what he was with the Steelers. Yeah, I did see some highlights, and like I said, I'm not gonna act, sit there act like I know like a lot about who he is, but just being honest about it, like I would like to see another position. Number one, I'm mad that it comes after the trade deadline. So now we're not, we were never looking at big pickups in the first place. But I'd rather bring in a running back, even if somebody that we don't even 100% believe in, like looking for a running back or even a lineman to help us out. And just have positions that we need. We definitely don't need another receiver when we have cooks that we are barely using, that we definitely address later in the show. And we have Jalen Brooks, who's inactive. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's I'm used to us. I'm used to the Cowboys doing moves like this, but this one is just for me really out of left field. And just see what just address what JD said about Terrence Steele. Like I hope he can too. Like I'm hoping he's healed, but maybe it's still the leg is still messing with him. I'm not sure exactly which leg it is, but I was watching shout out to Okoye Media. I was watching his film this morning while I was at work, and listening to it, just trying to watch what I could, while I could, what I could do while I was working. And just he was even saying that he wasn't trying to push off on. I think when I don't remember which leg he was saying, but he was saying that he wasn't trying to put pressure on it. That he was trying to push the guy, but also trying to lift his leg at the same time. Trying to save that pain if he was feeling pain. So I don't know if he's maybe just feeling slight discomfort, while he is going through his motions, or driving his feet into the ground. But that's definitely not good. Especially this time, this late in the season. I forget what I was listening to, but there was a question to McCarthy in one of his press conferences where he said that Terrence still needs time to ramp up. But my thing is like it's week 9, week 10. Like it's really late in the season to be talking. I mean, for him who started week 1, like granted, I know he didn't have too much camp or going that hard. I know he wasn't going 100% if you're trying to come back from injury. But I don't know, it's late in the season for we talking about ramp up. Just in my opinion. But and we just paid him, so it's definitely a lot. That's I'm gonna say a lot at stake, because he has time to still to come back. He's going to be here, but it's just at this point in the season, like I think by the end of the season's end, hopefully, I think he will be better. But it's definitely, I would just say it's a little discouraging to see this right now, especially in a big game. To not just, but I was listening to, like, I think not an argument, but it's a discussion on Talking Cowboys, where they're saying that, well, yeah, Isaiah was saying like, well, he's going. Look at the guys he's going against. But my thing is, if we're going to be going to playoffs, we're going to be going against guys, who are of the Hassan Reddicks. You know what I'm saying? Saying the other guys who are rushing off the edge. When we play the 49ers D line now, Randy Gregory, whichever side he decides to play on. Now that they got Chase Young and these guys have, Brandon Graham, for the Eagles. So these guys have depth, you know what I mean? And so, and he even mentioned that, like, the O line can't really change it out like the D line can, but so it's understandable that he's not able to, get any rest like the D line was able to, but it's definitely something to keep, definitely keep our eye on. Yeah, I said the same thing, JB. Like he's like 30, like I think he had 31, 32. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. The move like that for me, it just doesn't really do anything for me. Like me, it's just like that's just kind of like there's really just no need for me for us to even do that. I mean, like I said, I was mentioning like McCarthy gets a little bit more into his offense. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, Tober gets involved. We even saw Luke get a target, target on fourth and short. I think the pass was broken up, but it's good to see that him get a target. It's definitely encouraging. Hopefully, we'll be able to see more of him. Later down the line, if we're able to kind of scheme him in. I kind of got a point from Schottenheimer's press conference as well, where he mentioned that they were training in reaction by the receiver for their scramble drills. He called it like an escape route, and I just like that. He kind of mentions it as like they're trying to get the upper hand of the defense. Where if they do, and we saw that a lot against the Eagles, where if they do end up having to get into a situation where they do have to scramble, like he's like you mentioned, literally they're training the reaction by the receiver. So like on that scramble by Tolbert, or even the one in the previous game by CD against the Rams, like when you see Dak scrambling, they know what their next step is going to be. They don't have to, as far as they know, they have to do different things against a different opponent, but they'll know what their next step needs to be ahead of the defense. The defense, they know to go left if Dak is taking these certain steps. That's another thing Schottenheimer mentioned with Dak's more confident. But if they're able to practice these scramble drills, they're able to be more prepared. When they actually happen in game day, because as we saw that happen a lot with Dak being flushed out the pocket, with a lot of pressure coming from the right side. Him having to think on his feet. Happened a lot in the Eagles game. I think he was in the XFL, and I think they're actually. I think I was listening today. I think they were saying he was in the CFL, and then he got suspended, and then ended up getting in the XFL, and then I think got suspended there too. I'm not sure. I mean, the Cowboys make some suspect moves sometimes, and sometimes that does annoy me. But especially a guy who I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about him, so I'm not going to talk much about him. But we just in my opinion, whether it was Brian or anybody else, I just don't think we need a receiver. I think we have more pressing needs, like I said, at running back or lineman. And like I mentioned earlier, with CD showing him like he's being a number one. Schottenheimer even mentioning in his presser that talking about CD, that elite players need coverage when told to them, like as we see more often than not, CD maybe double covered, or he may run into a situation where he's facing a number one corner, but he's still making those catches. He's still converting it and creating space, for himself, creating separation where he's able to to drive up, to be able to lose the defender and be able to like we talked about earlier with the yak yards, and we see the yards he's getting, almost 200 yards. He's definitely turning up. Yeah, exactly, JB. Yeah, linebacker. Even that, like I know we just brought in Evans, but it's especially something that we're so thin at. It's never, especially with LBE, the kind of timetable. Even Stephen Jones is still saying, if and when LBE comes back. So with that being, so much up in the air, we could definitely use another linebacker. So that definitely wouldn't hurt. And like as I mentioned earlier with CD, like even he mentioned it, before the season with the talk of. I think it was, I don't know who it was, AJ Brown, I think, talking about, well, CD plays slot and this, that, and the third, and CD was like, well, I can do, slot and outside, and we're seeing that more, with McCarthy putting it at the X receiver, and just him being able to even just go out for a wide nine, not a wide nine, a long route or going out in the seam or just doing, just being able to just really just catching the ball, really throwing his way, that could just put so much trust in him. You know what I'm saying? He's, trying any way to beat double coverage. That's really what we've seen in previous years where, CD has been double covered really because he was the only option, but even having even the other options we're bringing in, it's really the Cowboys' fault for not, utilizing the other options, but even CD still being a main target, still able to make those catches. But like I just mentioned, us bringing in other targets. Just from my last slide here, like these are just the questions I was, kind of left with, with this game. I'm saying, like I mentioned, like why aren't the Cowboys targeting Brandon Cooks? I guess, and even with the show I was listening to with Talking Cowboys, they mentioned, this kind of happened. The same thing kind of happened with when we brought in T.Y. Hilton last year. Late in the season, he barely got targets. I'm saying really, and now it's playoff time, so you don't really expect us to bring in somebody, especially with all the, the training camp, clips and them going deeper passes, and us barely even seeing that, only getting 2 targets. I want to bring in this quick clip for me. Like I said, before we get out of here, about like once again Isaiah Stanback. Like I love listening to Talking Cowboys because Isaiah Stanback is definitely just one of the honest guys who is just real about of course real about the Cowboys and what he thinks, and he gives his opinion, and I really I agree with this. Let me see. Like I said, I just want to bring this up really quick. Let me get the timestamp really quick for you guys. So.
To his, not because of his inabilities, because he's very capable. He's still the best route runner on this roster. I don't care how great CeeDee Lamb's playing. Mm-hmm. He's still the best route runner on this roster, and he's not being given the opportunities because there's give and take. When your number one receiver wants the ball, you find a way to get him the ball. Other guys are going to suffer, and unfortunately, you brought Brandon Cooks in here to be a complimentary player, to be not focusing on distributing it to your other guys to ease the pain on CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had 16 targets. 16 targets. Nobody's complaining about that because everybody wants to see CeeDee Lamb eat. He got 191 yards.
Great. He had production.
Killing
he
it.
was
Absolutely,
surgical.
He's killing it. But
that's something we'll talk about later in the week because CeeDee Lamb has been unbelievable.
Crazy. But
he's been incredible.
But what happens when you force feed your number one? Your number two gets 2 targets. 2 targets.
I don't know what you're talking about. Your number 2 had 7 receptions on 10 targets with 91 yards and a touchdown.
Number 2 receiver.
That's your number 2.
Yeah. Your number 2 target is definitely Ferguson, okay, which he's doing a heck of a job. Shout out to Linda Wells and that tight end group.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, B. Cooks he's been the clear out guy, and unfortunately, that's what he's been subjected to. And kudos and the highest of regard and respect to him for keeping it shut.
My bad, you guys keep forgetting about that about the mic. But yeah, as you heard Isaiah Stanback talking about, like once you start, we fans have been screaming, and even we heard in the media them questioning a lot about why they haven't really been trying to incorporate CeeDee Lamb. And so of course we see him asking for the ball, trying to be more involved. And we see I'm not gonna say consequences because we like they just mentioned, like he's turning up. I guess it's good to see that he's having this much effect on the game, but at the same time, like that's when you kind of lose. But granted, we did go to Gallup. The 10 targets he had 2 games before, and we have been getting Cooks involved in the Chargers game. He had a touchdown. Now we're starting to incorporate Tolbert. He's getting some of Gallup snaps. So it's just it's like he said, it goes hand in hand. Like when you, especially like I think he said, like you said, mentioned he had 16 targets, receiving Lamb. So it's good to see, and he's definitely taking advantage of those. He's not like he's not catching it, but it's just, I think we just had to see that patience because as we just seen, we see Tolbert, getting involved. Like I said, we see Lipke, granted it was just one target, but we see, like I said, I think like slowly we're seeing Mike McCarthy get, more and more into this offense. And, granted, like Schottenheimer always mentions in every week that it's about, the point that you're going up against. You have to address. So and that, that really determines your game plan, who you're going up against and, what you decide to do. Like somebody new in the chat, you see Hurts is so much better than Dak from Cool April Fool 13. Well, I guess you sound like, I don't know if you're an Eagles fan, but I'm assuming speaking like that you are. But hey, like I said, shout out to the Eagles for getting that win. Dak's still 8-4 against them, but we're gonna see y'all again later in the season. So hey, shout out to y'all for winning right now. So I don't think the better quarterback won. I don't think the better team won Sunday evening, but no, like I said, I'm not sure. I know Dak's numbers. I'm not really sure of Hurt's numbers, but no, he's leading the lead in interceptions right now. And they were talking, when Dak led the interception, had the led interception numbers last year. He was, he was going down. He wasn't, he wasn't this, he wasn't that. He wasn't even top 10 anymore. So they're not saying the same thing about Hurts. So we'll see, where he is at the end of the year. He's looking a little bit banged up, but hopefully he's able to stay healthy because we definitely want to see him again come December 10th, I think. Yeah, December 10th. So, we'll definitely see you guys again. Let me get back to my show. Let me bring it up again for you guys. But yeah, like I was mentioning, so it's definitely important that we get Cooks involved, and I want to say ASAP, because we have we had the next few games coming up where we face the Giants, the Panthers, Washington, so we're able to get some of our game plan, especially ready for some of these big games we have coming up, especially against these opponents. You know what I'm saying? So I think we'll have a little bit more, I won't say practice, but a little bit more more situations where we can see what we exactly we can do with Cooks. I just don't think that maybe they don't know how to use them. Like because in my opinion, I think they're still using Tony Pollard incorrectly. Like I think instead of just rushing him into the gap, when we see Rico and what he gains just on 1 to 2 carries, what I'm saying, can get 8 yards, 12 yards. I'm saying, but never sees the ball again. So it's just, I think if we just kind of get our scheme, get our scheme down, and get down to the details to where we can figure out how to use our personnel correctly. You see, yeah, like I mentioned earlier with the offensive line, still continuing to lack chemistry. We see them playing very well. Like I mentioned earlier with Terrence Steele, we definitely still have to give them time to come back, but it's definitely something. And a lot of these guys that are coming back from injury, Jordan Lewis, Tony Pollard, these are some of the guys we're talking about that are showing flaws. I guess I'll say I don't want to say messing up or bringing down the team, but they're just showing flaws. And because even Kershaw shows flaws. So there's times where some of our vets, Zach Martin, gets beat, from time to time, he was getting beat. Granted, it was Aaron Donald, but they've gone against each other, for years and years. So, some of these guys we expect better from. There's definitely going to be times where where they're going to fall short. But they're, and definitely in these big games, it just can't happen in some situations where, 1 to 2 plays, like McCarthy mentioned. Sometimes we just need to make one more play, and that one play can be the play that that we didn't do so well on. And there's another thing I want to mention. I talked about defense playing well earlier, but one thing that stood out to me, I want to play this clip. This is the last clip from Talking Cowboys, where he mentioned, I think, a good point where about the defense and just how they've kind of, like I mentioned, with us kind of playing from behind, some of these games. And I didn't know about this stat, but he mentioned this stat. I'm just going to play real quickly. 1 second.
This is
Don't try and change the subject.
two things that I highlighted from the defense. You were talking about the turnover margin, obviously. Big deal. Second time this year that they haven't been able to generate a turnover, and they're 0-2 in those games.
Yeah.
The big thing for me, 6 games in a row, they've allowed points on the first possession. They got to be able to come out the gates a little bit hotter. And when you look at the losses that they've suffered in those 6 games and how critical those first drives were to not only setting momentum for the opposing offense, but also just kind of like putting the offense behind, it's been really bad. So, it hurt them really bad against San Francisco, hurt them against Arizona. I'm trying to think of some other games as well. Chargers game, and had them playing from behind.
Yeah.
You take out that opening drive touchdown, that's probably a much more wider margin down late in the game. And obviously on Sunday night, and not only on Sunday night against Philly was it the first half, it was the second half, coming out and allowing those back-to-back touchdown drives out of the break. And they got to be able to pick up momentum off rip a little bit better. That's the biggest knock I have on this offense, or on this defense right now.
It's
Yeah, so like he just mentioned, you guys, like a lot of people, like to have. I don't know. Just in my opinion, I feel like there are a lot of people who don't like to. I don't want to say don't like to criticize the defense, but I've heard a lot of these shows where people try to point out some of the mistakes, because there's a lot, some Dak haters, that's the first thing they say. Dak messed up in this game. Dak couldn't do enough. Dak didn't put the points up, or Dak stepped out of bounds, or the offense couldn't get going. But there's times where we've seen in previous years where the defense couldn't stop the run, and we definitely improved on stopping the run. That's not the scenario here. But I would just say that like he just mentioned, us having to play behind, in several scenarios, not just starting out the game, like he mentioned, even coming out the half, I would that's one thing I want to see improve from this defense is maybe them, helping the offense in that manner, keeping the opposing team from scoring points, because of course, there's a point of a defense, but sometimes you don't want to be put in a situation where you have to play from a deficit, because that in turn can change, the scheme or the play calling that Mike McCarthy decides to come out with, because we see what happened with the 49er game, and you could see almost instantly, like once we fell behind, he kind of, in my opinion, kind of panicked with the play calling, they instantly dropped the run. I think he just went one or two times to Pollard, and from then on, and I think that went from the fumble. So of course that got us behind even more. But it was of course that game was more so a snowball effect. But certain scenarios we can't clam up and be afraid to run, and I think that's why our run game is still a little bit stagnant right now. We're still kind of trying to build the offense to where we want it to be, but at the same time, we have to be able to, like Schottenheimer says, we have to be able to run when we know that we have to run, and even when the other team knows we're going to run. But we also have to say at the same time have to be able to scheme up, better scenarios for Tony Pollard, even for Rico, and getting them into space. And granted, the O-line hasn't been playing the greatest, but we still have to find a way to be able to utilize personnel that we have, because it doesn't look like we're gonna get another running back. So we do have to, like we mentioned last week, play to Pollard's strengths. Scheme to his strengths. Scheme to Pollard's strengths. And so he, like we know about Pollard, he's a change of pace back. So we just have to be able to create that space around him. And like I said, hopefully we'll see some improvement. Going down the line. And we have the Giants coming up. We played them before. So granted they're missing their quarterback now. We're going to be facing a rookie quarterback or Tyrod Taylor. I'm not sure who they'll end up having start. I think Tyrod got hurt too, if I'm not mistaken. But and we have a few games coming up where we will be able to hopefully solidify our offense and be able to come with definitely improve. We definitely came correct in this game, but definitely some mistakes that we can improve. But before we get out of here, if you guys have any, if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, let me know. If you guys could, just as a reminder, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. Like, I try to come in every now and then, just give my thoughts. And I know you guys don't have to be here. I know, trying to get up here soon. I know the final word. I know they can have a lot to talk about. Shout out to those guys who, just put in work every week. And, I always look forward to their content, because they're always, just bringing great information. But like I said, thank you guys for spending. You got plenty of time with me. That you guys look out for. Look out for us tomorrow. My show with Stargazer Sports, and we're gonna have. If you guys were there last week, we're gonna have West Coast Cowboy in there tomorrow. So make sure you guys look out for that. And if there's anything else, like I said, thank you guys for coming through. I hope you guys have a good rest of the night and get some rest. And I'll catch you guys next time. Yeah, appreciate you guys.